Hello, climbers, and welcome to Season 4 of Climbing Mount CMMC.
Welcome back, climbers, to another episode of Climbing Mount CMMC. Today, I'm joined again with Adam. Thank you, Adam, for joining us.
Thanks for letting me out of the basement.
Yeah, we'll let you out every once in a while. We've talked about this before, right, in the past around MSPs and the involvement, but today we're going to talk specifically about Rev 3 and how it could be a potential punch in the face for MSPs if they've been trying to dip their toe into the space and not really fully committing to the level of engagement they're going to need to do, right? You know, as we're getting ready for our Rev 3 and working through our stuff, when we came across this organizational defined value, you were like, Bobby, I think you need to know about this. And I started looking at it and I was like, wow, this is really calling out the external service providers and making it very clear that not only could they have to participate in the assessment, but it really calls them out with having to be fully compliant, which I think is really challenging. Can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah. So, let's jump in the DeLorean, do a little time machine back here. We've talked before about the requirements for MSPs under the current CMMC program with 800-171 Rev 2. The current process of the cap, as of recording, it's February 2026. And that pretty much boiled down to MSPs could decide, ESPs, really, I should use the correct terminology here, but MSPs, MSSPs, we're all ESPs. We can choose to go down the level 2 certification path ourselves, get our level 2 cert, and that's supposed to afford us some flexibility in the assessment,
during assessment, yeah.
Which is the journey that we've undergone.
And it taught us a lot. So, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Plus, I think it's a necessity. If you're going to be providing the technical support to your client, you're going to be remoting in from your devices. Yeah. You want to have parity. You want to make sure that when you're remoting in to support those clients, that you're doing it from a level 2 certified environment, so you know that it's not pinky promise. I have it. I promise. It's I've been assessed just like you're about to be assessed.
Yeah, I've implemented the full 320.
And it's not that we expect to receive CUI because we're not.
Yeah,
but
I actively do not want to see it.
Right, yeah, I don't want it. But I'm going to be supporting you from it, and my systems are going to be exposed potentially to it by supporting that client. So we want to make sure we have parity when we're coming in. So that was the reason why operationally, business-wise, there's a lot of security reasons that you've mentioned on the episode before about why you want to do it. So, but kind of putting that aside, we want to talk about the organizations that have decided to perhaps dodge that because in the 32 CFR it said that they don't have to be level 2, that they could still participate, right?
Yeah, relevant to the services they provide, responsibility matrix and everything. And, that's alluring for MSPs out there. I mean, the reason why we started this conversation that led to this episode was we've seen several comments out in the CMMC and MSP communities online of saying, I just have one client. I just got this client and the flow down just hit them. Or a client just came to me and said, hey, we've got this requirement. What do we do? Fill out the security questionnaire. And those are always interesting conversations, talking to people in the industry and community that just, they've not gone down the road yet. They haven't been there, done that. They haven't learned the hard lessons we've had to learn and all the fun stuff that comes with it too. And, it can seem very alluring to try to jump into it. Maybe try to learn to do CMMC while you're doing it for a client at the same time too.
Right. They pay for your journey.
Right. The thing is, a lot of people are focusing on the current reality of CMMC, but we know that stuff is changing.
Right.
We've seen just this last month, as we've looked deeper and deeper into Rev 3 as a result of some comments made by the Department of War under the latest FAQs, and comments suggesting that the rulemaking process will happen for Rev 3. But we've also seen the GSA come out of left field and say, hey, we're going to require Rev 3 and a whole bunch of other stuff. And
slap on some extra 172 and little RMF spice on top and presto changeo, and that was a shocker.
Yeah, I've got my comments on that, but I think we want to be a family-friendly podcast, so we'll save that for another day.
So now when we're looking at Rev 3, can you walk us through 3.16.3? So this is one of the whole families that's been added, right? Because there's supposed to be 14 families.
Right.
So this is in 3.16, so it's one of the 3 that's doing that, and it's external system services. Can you walk me through that one?
Yeah, and just for a little more context here, because I love doing this, having spent some time here. We've seen over the years a lot of issues come out with supply chain incidents.
Right.
The SolarWinds cyber attack that happened that directly impacted the DoD was a major incident. The Colonial Pipeline and others. We've seen time and again MSPs be compromised and lead to downstream effects. So it makes sense to do supply chain security, and NIST thought it relevant to include in Rev 3 the system and services acquisition domain, which talks to that thing, to that item. But they also recognize that these companies outsource.
Right.
They outsource an awful lot. So 316.3 breaks down into...
when you say outsource, what do you mean outsource? Like, where are they outsourcing to?
Yes. I mean, think about it. Us internally, who do we outsource to?
Yeah.
A cloud service provider.
Right.
We may have tools and technology that we use that we did not develop in-house ourselves.
Sure.
We've got great engineers on our staff. We are not Microsoft engineers. We are not MFA experts at the level to build an identity and access management platform that does, we buy services. Every company does in this space. Even if you read into Microsoft's SSP, they buy services too.
Well, and then MSPs will use other MSPs that might not even be in the country. So now it's an external service provider of an external service provider that may be given
And we've seen
access.
false claims where that's come up. But at the end of the day, cybersecurity is a team sport. But part of that being a team sport means recognizing what you can't do and finding people who can do it better, faster, cheaper, more efficiently. Okay, go buy something cool. So under this control, 316.3, we've got three main things here, but of course the assessment guides breaks out a lot more. But the first thing we want to look at here is, and I'm just going to read it right here out of Rev 3. If you want to follow along, feel free to go look it up. But we have require the providers of external system services for the processing, storage, or transmission of CUI to comply with the following security requirements. Assignment, organization defines security requirements. Phew, easy. Organization gets to define it, right? Oh, let's go back to our conversation a couple weeks ago about organizationally defined parameters. And the organization that gets to define them here under CMMC is the Department of War. So let's see what they had to say for that one. If anyone wants to follow along at home again, you can just Google Department of Defense 800-171 Rev 3 ODPs, and it should take you to the DoD CIO CMMC page to get you there. So we've got a few things spelled out here. For cloud service providers, FedRAMP authorized at the FedRAMP moderate or higher level in accordance with the FedRAMP marketplace, or meets the security requirements established by the government equivalent to the FedRAMP moderate or higher baseline. Cool. Sounds like DFARS all over again. Nothing crazy, nothing earth-shattering in that one at all. The second one, all other external service providers, put a little footnote there, and then they define what an external service provider is. Spoiler alert, IT providers, security providers, etc., must meet NIST Special Publication 800-171 R2. I have comments and things around why they use R2 and Rev 3, but I'm sure someone smarter than me did that for a reason. So, but let's just drop the revision histories off there. All other external service providers must meet NIST Special Publication 800-171. That's a fun one, isn't it?
Yeah, because that means that they have to apply all of those controls to that environment they're going to be supporting them from. And if you look at Alpha, right, on 316.3, it says external system services used for processing, storing, or transmitting CUI. So the MSP might go, I'm not doing that, so therefore I can get off the hook. You can't call me in on that.
Right.
Okay. I remote in to support the client, right?
And that client system is doing what? Storing, processing, transmitting.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that we're going to be hopping in to support their environment and have the ability to transfer, and I mean, could you try to split the hair and say, okay, we're going to talk to the client and tell them don't open any CUI, and then if they put in a ticket to open a document that might have CUI in it, we just tell them no, that we're not going to be able to do that, right? We're not going to be able to see it from our systems as we're supporting and working with them. I mean, that's just not a reality. I mean, the MSP is going to be exposed to it.
Right.
There's no way to stop it from happening if you're going to do your job right.
Right. I think at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is the potential to access it is access to it.
Right. And they've covered that in the guide where it's like that's if you can have access to it and you can see it, you're a CUI asset.
Yeah.
That's how they define it. Unless you want to try to fly the CRMA flag, which is a whole other podcast. But the reality is you're going to get in scope. And so there's really no way if you're applying the controls, if you're a real traditional MSP and you're providing the full IT hug for that client, you're going to be a 316.3 and you're getting fully pulled in whether you like to or not.
Right. And just because, of course, if anyone's watching the actual video, it's y'all can tell I'm reading some stuff. I'm not that good at memorizing things just yet. So to that whole argument of, well, I'm just the MSP. I don't have access to it. I'm not storing, processing, transmitting. I hear you. I think the DoD heard you too, because they specifically said in their footnote on this one, external service providers, external people, technology, or facilities that an organization utilizes for provision and management of IT and or cybersecurity services on behalf of the organization.
That seems like a mic drop.
That's an MSP.
Right.
There's no way around that. If anyone's listening to this that's an MSP and can look at this and think, I don't do any of this, I'm really curious what your scope of services actually look like to not provide any of this stuff. It's pretty well spelled out here as to they clearly are looking at MSPs, MSSPs, and saying, nope, this whole scope game and everything, and I don't really touch it. They're putting an end to the argument. They're clearly about as over the argument as I think we are at this point. Seeing
well, and it's more than just that's sinister, right? So you don't want to show up to the game with your R2 version of 171 and then find out Rev 3 pulls you in, and oh, by the way, it's going to expect you to have Rev 3 versions, which if you're keeping score, the Rev 2 is like 320 assessment objectives. Rev 3 is like 510.
Yeah.
So it's like a marketable increase in assessment objectives. They have 3 whole different additional families. This isn't something you're just going to, bake out on a weekend. Like, you've got to be prepared to think about how you're going to do this at scale with a client or multiple clients.
Yeah.
And be able to show how you as an MSP is going to support that client.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, prove as an external service provider that you meet all 300 and the 510 assessment objectives as the ESP for that client.
Yep. And then put on my infamous Great Billy Mays hat. But wait, there's more. We mentioned there was 3 big things to this control. So the biggest one here that obviously led down this conversation is the fact that external service providers must meet 800-171-R2. But let's take this a step further, because NIST certainly has. Define and document user roles and responsibilities with regard to external system services, including shared responsibilities with external service providers. Not only is this your shared responsibility matrix, but who is doing what with regard to that service? Is little Johnny help desk tech over there a global admin and the tenant and doing everything under the sun? Where's that documented? Do we know what those responsibilities look like? Is Patty product manager over there somehow doing security duties and stuff as well?
Those names you're coming out with. Patty product manager. I love that. That's great.
So clearly they want more documentation to understand who's doing what